Yes, can I have 2 large double doubles, please?
Anything else?
That's all.
All right, you can pull it out.
I'm guessing it's 408. Got it right here.
You already got 408 pulled out?
I do.
Wow, those singles aren't even vertically folded.
Did I put...
Yeah, we should probably roll up that window.
Why would they be vertically folded? I didn't work last night. All right, so I think the draft is going to be unbelievably unpredictable because you have 7 GMs that are entering their first official draft.
I love that point.
7 GMs are coming in for their first draft. You also have 3 other GMs that this is their second draft. So a third of the league are basically infants when it comes to this. The thing that interests me more about that was I was looking at it. Very minor group of GMs have actually drafted their quarterback.
So you're saying the turnover has been so aggressive with the GMs that
Yes.
the quarterback was incumbent to the roster.
2018, right now you got 7 new guys going into their first draft. 2017 you had 3. 2016 you had 2. 2015 you had 3. You talked about it being a cool kids club. All these guys being young guys coming into the fold. Loomis, 01. Belichick, 2000. Jerry Jones, 96, I think, 95. Something like that. Cincinnati, I think his was 2000 or 99. Other than those, those guys, a lot of these are just really young upstarts. So if you think about it in that respect, they have no tendencies. So what you have to do is you have to look at the guys that they learned under. I told you yesterday we were talking about Caldwell and Tedesco both being from Buffalo.
Yeah.
So you got the connection from Jacksonville and the LA Chargers. We haven't really seen anything going on with those guys yet, but that connection is definitely there. And
wait, the Jags and the Chargers?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the trades have already been orchestrated because you had the Darius trade, right? That brought Darius down to Jacksonville, and then don't forget, Cardell Jones got traded this offseason. So there's relationships already established there.
Oh, I was talking about between Jacksonville and Chargers directly, not Buffalo. But that's a great point. You got Houston and Tennessee now have a connection, and the way that I think Houston's going to have a dumpster fire of a draft this year. Not only not having a first round pick, Bill O'Brien and the new GM, they're not seeing eye to eye. Flacco was not picked. Oh no, Newsom picked him. Yeah,
Newsom picked him.
Newsom's
gone.
I know. They're very
Newsom's
interesting.
gone.
8 teams now. 8 teams are going to be entering their first draft. But then again, if you're a guy, we look at it realistically. If you're a guy that's studied under Newsom for 10 years, it's not your first draft.
Well, let me ask this: so if
he doesn't make very bold moves.
If you have a new group of GMs, and of course, quarterback's the most valuable position in the draft, right? That's not even arguable. It's the most valuable position in the draft because there's this collection of new guys who are going to have or going to want to draft their guy, right? That's the big thing about the quarterback position versus the GM, is the GM is seen as successful if they found their quarterback. Usually, right? The quarterback and GM are mutually tied together. So does that mean, and is that why we've heard this class talked about so much? Because we've had so much new blood injected into the GM position. Are they all just really feverishly looking for a quarterback because there's so many new guys who all have the same mindset that they got to get their quarterback? Is that why we're talking about Lamar Jackson? Is that why we're talking about Mason Rudolph? These are not guys that should be in the conversation as first-round quarterbacks, in my opinion. I'm sure there's a lot of other people who disagree, but normally you'll have the 2 or 3 quarterbacks that could be first-round picks, and now you're looking at there being a conversation of 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. I don't think we're going to see 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, But the conversation, do you think it's happening because of all the new GMs and the desire to find their quarterback?
I'm not sure if the GMs are the ones that drive that discussion. I think media is a big proponent of that. I don't know. I don't know if the GMs are driving that up. You got a lot of new GMs and a lot of new coaches that are coming into the league, and just as much as it's tied to the GM, it's tied to the coach. So you got to say, as a GM talking to your head coach, who do you want? What quarterback do you want in your system? Talk to your OC, or if you're one of those guys like a Sean Payton. I'm just giving you an example. He calls all the plays, so you're going to talk to him directly. What kind of quarterback do you want? Who do you need? Well, I need either Mayfield or Allen. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, I don't have the ammunition to go up there.
Right.
So they're going to say, well, what else do you need? He goes, oh, I don't want Rudolph. I don't want Jackson. I don't want Darnold. I don't want Rosen. I can't work those guys into my system. But okay. All right. Well, next need is for your current quarterback. Let's get a tackle.
Right.
Let's get left side. So then when you see these moves happen, like you said, they're not really going to get burned. If you pass on a quarterback, which is another interesting discussion. If you pass on a quarterback, is that more of a burn than drafting one and having him not pan out? Or if you just pass on one that ends up being good? Because a lot of talk has been revolving around the Browns have to take a quarterback now because they've passed on Goff, they've passed on Wentz, they passed on Mahomes, they passed on Watson.
Yeah, but that's the organizational pressure, right? So when you look at that, yes, the helmet that the players put on, that organization has passed on quarterbacks in the past. And now it's a totally new leadership there. So should they be held to the same standard? That's one thing that I loved about McDermott and Bean when they came in. It was, we're going to get there, but we're not going to be held to the sins of our forefathers. This is my first day on the job. So don't talk to me about the 17 years that it took to get here. Today's my first day, and I'm going to do what I can to build a winner. Right? So is the organization going to be held to that same pressure? The people who put that pressure on the organization, that's the media and the fans.
Yeah.
These guys that are walking into the building, it's their first day on the job. So to them, yet they've passed on quarterbacks in the past, that does not put any extra pressure to draft one now. I mean, it will from a media-facing standpoint, but you don't make moves so that you win favor with the media. I mean, it makes your life a lot easier, but that's not how you should be making decisions.
No, you don't. And then it's funny because if you have a discussion like this, let's say you're Jacksonville, who typically they don't fill their stadium.
Right.
You sign Cousins. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just going with it. That's the biggest name on the free agent market. That would draw fans.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you start winning and losing at home, that's still going to fill that stadium.
Yep.
That's another component of it that's a little I don't like to focus on too much, but it's there. You have to know that.
The Bills did it with T.O. I mean, let's be honest, right? The Bills did it with T.O. And, they signed him and ticket sales went up. Sales of Orville Redenbacher went up because everybody was buying popcorn. And, that's part of that signing. And that was that was one of the many things that Russ Brandon did to keep injecting stadium attendance. Mm-hmm. And I will give Russ Brandon credit where credit is due. He does a great job of helping to orchestrate filling that stadium. Team's been bad for a long time, but they've really not struggled in the attendance department like the Chargers do, or like the Jags do, or like any of these other middling teams.
Well, I mean, prior to this year, you're saying
prior
to
Chargers,
this year,
right?
Because the Chargers had like a 17-seat stadium this year. Okay. It was a little easy to fill. They couldn't get media in there; they were helicoptered in.
No, there was no media there because it cost them $100 to park at the stadium. That's why. I mean, it's expensive.
We're gonna get our money out of this. Yeah. That's another dynamic that I love, and I'm gonna, I'll probably put an article on htagsports.com a little bit later in the week about the more cohesive units are the ones that, hey, I want this guy, and then we can work together to get this guy for the. I mean, it all goes downhill. I mean, the owner will get the GM, GM will get the coach will get his quarterback, and everything works out pretty much that way. The thing that's interesting is why don't some of these coaches be the GMs? Well, you have complete polar opposites in Belichick and Jerry Jones, which are the only two in the league that are coaches and GMs. Belichick gets everybody to fill his system. Jerry gets the guy that's going to fill 100,000 seat stadium.